Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna. So the book is coming. That's very good. And I just need something. Ja, auf Englisch.
Du kriegst doch heute ein elektronisches Buch, ne?
Okay. Okay, dann versuche ich es vielleicht einfach mit meinem eigenen Gerät. Hier. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So, we are reading today from Caitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, chapter 17, text 31. Quite a very famous verse, I'm sure you all know it. And let's start. Trinadapi sunishena taro iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. Trinadapi sunishena taro iva sahishnuna amanina manadena Caitanya sadahari Trinadapi sunishena Taro iva sahishnuna Amanina manadena Caitanya sadahari Trinadapi sunishena Taro iva sahishnuna Amanina manadena Caitanya sadahari Vaishnavis. One more, that's it. Amanina manadena Trinadapi. Then downtrodden grass. Sunishena, being lower. Taro, than a tree. Iva, like. Sahishnuna, with tolerance. Amanina, without being puffed up by false pride. Manadena, giving respect to all. Caitanya, to be chanted. Sada, always. Hari, the holy name of the Lord. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, yet is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The grass is specifically mentioned in this verse because everyone tramples upon it, yet the grass never protests. This example indicates that a spiritual master or leader should not be proud of his position, being always humbler than an ordinary common man. He should go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Om Akyanti Mirandasya Kyananjana Shalakaya Shakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, first of all, let me bow down to this verse, because I think this is one of the most important verses that we have, maybe the most important one. And I'm not qualified to speak on this verse. At the same time, I'm here to serve you all, so I have to speak about what I believe is most relevant and best in my service to you and my spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada. So I take your blessings, and I want to start by something very interesting, because tomorrow is Gaura Purnima, which is, again, one of the most important days for Vaishnava. And Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he said that there are two conditions when he is going to personally come and deliver a person. Just two things. When we do them, he'll personally come and deliver us. You want to know what that is? So he said, and this is from the Chaitanya Bhagavat, don't criticize others and chant the name of Krishna. That's it. And then he will personally come and deliver us. So how can we, what does that even mean? It sounds, first of all, yeah, I can do that. I cannot criticize anyone. I never criticize anyone. It's a whole attitude that we have, where we really deeply appreciate the other Vaishnavas, where we really deeply appreciate the Sangha that has been given to us. And when we do what is most important for any Vaishnava community, and that is to cooperate with each other. Despite being difficult, being different personalities, having different ideas, having different approaches of how we want to serve Srila Prabhupada, the highest principle is always to cooperate with each other, remembering this verse. Because if we don't cooperate with each other, our community can never be successful. And this was one of the last instructions Srila Prabhupada gave, the importance of doing that. Because often we come in situations, especially in communities, where we don't have the same opinion. I'm sure each and every one of you has experienced that. We have different ideas of how we want to serve the Lord. We have different inclinations. We have different moods. You know, we have different genders. We have different personalities. We have different levels of advancement. Some of us have been around for 20, 30 years. Some of us for 10 years. Some of us for 1 year. So all of this comes together. And then in Kali Yuga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the most difficult thing is to still appreciate each other, to still value each other, to still think that I'm so fortunate to be in the association of devotees. I'm so fortunate. I might not get along with this devotee. I might not like that devotee. But I'm so fortunate that I'm here in the Sangha. This is really what this verse gives us when we speak about community. And just recently, one devotee was asking me, what can I do if I don't get so much along with another devotee, or I don't like a devotee so much. And I was, after that conversation, I shared whatever I felt I knew, and I was reflecting on that. And then I was thinking about something, one teacher, or my spiritual master, had once told someone who had really difficulties with another devotee, really intense difficulties, not just, we don't agree on what color this gamsha should have, no, really intense. And he told him, because that devotee was senior, if you serve this person, and of course this is a very, very high principle, if you serve that person, all problems, all things will be resolved. And that person did that. And I'm going to give some purport to this because it needs to be understood in the proper context. But this person, having fully faith in the words of his spiritual master, served that person. And although this person was creating a lot of trouble and a lot of chaos in that community, like a lot of, even to the extent of abuse, not towards him. He served him, and just in a matter of weeks, this person was removed from their position, left the community, and apologized to that person. Now, this is a very, very, very high level of Krishna consciousness. But it works. When we have some difficulties with another person, think of a small way that you can offer some small service for that person. And you will see it will change the dynamic between the two of you. But that's the highest principle. It's not always possible, and we should not accept any kind of abuse in a community. When our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health is violated, that's where we set a boundary, of course. Now, the other principle then, of course, is to think about some good qualities of the person and to keep a respectful distance and say Hare Krishna. Okay? So, you're a Vaishnava, I deeply respect you, but I can't be too close because otherwise I get disturbed or agitated. So I offer my obeisances from a distance, but still with that appreciation and with that understanding that this is a person who's very, very dear to Krishna. And it is very, very important because we will get disturbed, we will get agitated in the community. It's very normal. It's like, how will purification come? How will purification come if we don't clash sometimes with another person, or if we don't get irritated? You know, this is Krishna giving us the opportunity to become more tolerant, to become more humble, because that's the way, that's the ticket we can take back to the spiritual world. I mean, read Srimad Bhagavatam. What is this all about? Just devotees being in all kinds of calamities and troubles and situations and going through so many things. And here Prabhupada speaks about the grass, you know. Everyone trambles on the grass all the time. Like we feel this is, you know, the grass is there so we can walk on it, we can lay on it. But what does the grass do? You step on it, it goes down. But do you destroy the grass? No, it always comes back up again. So humility doesn't mean that we just allow others to step on us and break us. Humility means that we're just like the grass. You know, some intensity comes and we sometimes have to maybe bow down, but then we're just right up again, serving the Lord. It doesn't mean that we have low self-esteem, that we're beating ourselves up. No, just like the grass, we're coming back up and serving the Lord. And you know, and why? Why do we have to do that? Because each time when some situations happens and we feel like I'm in control, I'm the doer, I know how to do this, I know how to, you know, arrange these things, then if we don't really purely do it for Krishna, then we creating our next body. Like each time we're not acting on pure devotional service, we're creating our next body in our next life. We're creating what kind of gender our body has and what kind of dimension, you know, on the heavenly dimension, on the earthly dimension, or even lower. What kind of family we will born in, what kind of circumstances. Each time we're not acting on Krishna consciousness, our material body for our next life gets manifested. Each time we're acting on those higher spiritual principles and we take the humble position, although it's very, very difficult, you know, it's like, it is very difficult, but we're creating our spiritual body. And the idea is that ultimately our false ego is going to be resolved. And we just have our spiritual identity. Because then we don't need a subtle body anymore who carries us into our next life, but it carries us back to the spiritual world. And we can do everything. We can follow everything perfectly. But if we don't follow this, it's basically, you know, it is not going to bring us back. And just like a tree, what does a tree do? A tree, you can cut a tree, you can burn a tree, a blizzard storm can come, a hurricane can come, maybe not here in Simachala. But the tree is never going to protest. It's always going to stand there. And how is the tree able to do that? Because the roots are going very, very deep. We cannot be humble, we cannot be tolerant if we don't have a deep sadhana, if we're not very serious about the chanting of the holy name, if we're not regularly in touch with Shastra, if we're not regularly having highly elevated sadhu sangha. Then externally we might be able to say, humility doesn't mean that I'm constantly walking around like this, keeping my head low and, like giving some expressions that I don't mean. Humility means I have confidence because I see myself as an instrument in Krishna's hand. So, back to the tree, the roots go very deep. So our sadhana, the chanting of the holy name, our contemplation of Krishna consciousness, taking the association of devotees seriously. When a devotee speaks to us, I know this person, I just saw him last week and he doesn't know what he's talking about. She's nonsense, I saw she was, not putting her tilak correctly on. So what does she know? If we're just open, okay, so what has this person to say? What does she have to say? Okay, maybe I can learn something. Because we never think ourselves better. There was once a disciple and a teacher. It's a true story, happened in our movement. And they were walking along in a city. It was actually sannyasi. So this disciple was saying, are we not at least better than this kami here? And he was pointing to a person who was driving in a very fancy car, sunglasses, seemed to be a very successful person. And the spiritual master said, no, we're not better. Then he was pointing to a beggar on the street, who was like smoking a cigarette and in dirt and, having a bottle of alcohol there. Come, we are Vaishnavas. We are better than this beggar. No, we're not. What about this criminal? He just got in prison for murder. Surely we are better than this person. He's a murderer. He's a criminal. No, we're not better. We're just more fortunate. The only reason why we're here is because the mercy of the other devotees, of the Vaishnavas. Causeless mercy of Mahaprabhu. Without Mahaprabhu, we wouldn't be sitting here. Without Srila Prabhupada, we wouldn't be sitting here. It's the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the well wishes of the Vaishnavas, and what are blessings? It's this natural tendency and feeling to wish someone well. It's not just I give you blessings, Prabhu, I give you blessings, Mataji. No, it's something internally. You can't force blessings. Of course, it's very good and very nice to ask for blessings. It's very important. We can't force them. They naturally flow from the heart of a devotee. But that's what we are surviving on. And as devotees, we always have to remember that I'm just here because of the mercy of the other Vaishnavas. So let me respect them. I might not agree, I might not like this devotee, but let me do my best to cooperate. And let me do my best to be respectful. And but when a tree doesn't have any deep roots, a little wind comes and he falls, and that's it. And it's the same for devotees. If we don't have sincere chanting, then what can we really do? Or at least, aspire to have sincere chanting. If we don't have sincere chanting, then at least have the wish, the prayer, go in front of Nishingadev, okay, I'm not sincere, I don't have a serious chanting, I don't have any taste, but my Lord, please, whatever needs to happen. And this also translates in our prayers. Because, yes, we can pray, my Lord, let me distribute today 100 books. Let me win the marathon for you. That's very nice. Oh, my Lord, let me decorate you today like no one has ever done before. Let me clean today so there is not a single, corner of dust. Let me give a lecture that is really going to inspire everyone. Let me really serve the devotees in that way. Or, my Lord, whatever you want. If you want me to fail today, if you want me to to absolutely, kind of like get destroyed in my service today. If that's what needs to happen for me to come closer to you, let that happen. My Lord, whatever you desire, whatever you desire. That's the prayer of a pure Vaishnava. If you want me to succeed, let me succeed. If you want me to fail, let me fail. Because whatever it needs for me to come to this Trinada Piso Nishena stage, whatever it needs for me to constantly chant the holy names, therefore we're doing that. Our goal is to chant the holy name constantly. But how can we chant constantly when we're sitting there and, oh my God, why is he chanting so loud? Oh my God, I can't do this. Why is he running around like that? Of course, ideally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was sitting in a closet, a very small closet, there was no light, there was nothing. I'm not sure if you've ever been there in the Holy Dham. It's like quite fascinating in his little thing, So that's also there, but at the same time, we might not be Bhaktivinoda Thakur who's entering into the Lila in Vrindavan when he's chanting, but my point is like having the right vision when we're approaching this. And then, the verse is saying, we don't accept personal honor for ourselves. We don't take credit. Why do we not take any credit? You can take some credit, I was cooking very nicely yesterday. I was dressing very nicely. It was very nice, I won the marathon. Come on, I mean, I did it. Come on, like some credit I can take. No credit we can take, because when you take credit and you say, I did it, I was doing it, I'm the controller, and then what's happening? You're cutting the flow of mercy. Now Krishna can't work through you because you're saying you are doing it. That Krishna can't work through you anymore because you want to depend on yourself. Therefore, we don't take any credit, so we can even be more empowered. We always pass the credit on because that's reality. How do you know anything in Krishna consciousness? It's the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. If he wouldn't be there, you wouldn't know anything. So whatever a person tells you, it's all coming from the Vaishnavas, from the Lord, from Srila Prabhupada, from your spiritual master. So we just give it back in our heart. Devotees will glorify us naturally, because that's the nature of a devotee. He glorifies other devotees. He wants to give credit to other devotees. Okay. Thank you for your encouragement. Thank you for your feedback. Whatever. But in our heart, we can sometimes you may even just say, okay, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Mataji. But in our heart, we offer it back to our spiritual master, to Srila Prabhupada. We don't accept it. Because then we can get empowered to really do something amazing. Like Srila Prabhupada said, really preach. The success of our preaching depends on our internal realization that we have. It depends on the taste of the holy name. Depends on the appreciation of the Vaishnava. It depends on how much this Krishna consciousness has become a reality for us, a daily experience. Are we experiencing Krishna in our daily life? Do we pray to the Lord and feel reciprocation? If not, if we don't feel any reciprocation, then we have to go deeper. And when we are touched by the Lord, when we are touched by the holy name, when our heart starts to open, when bhakti starts to manifest, then we can go out and then we can really preach, because then we will give bhakti to someone and not our concoction or whatever. Of course, we always have to preach. It's Srila Prabhupada's desire. Anyone can distribute books, do Harinam, do whatever we can to preach the glories. But true preaching starts when we actually have some kind of realization, some kind of advancement and taste, which can only come when we embrace humility and tolerance. And we give respect to others. Even though it's very difficult. In Kali Yuga, it is very, very difficult. There's how will I put this? It is really like it's not like things will not disturb us, that we have to pretend that I'm not agitated, that it's difficult. But the point is like, on what principle do we act on? And we see this is only possible if it's a realization in the heart. We cannot artificially follow this, because we will just get very agitated and we will burn out and then we will leave the devotees. So we also have to understand, on what level am I? Pure devotees are fully able to follow this because they feel Krishna in their heart. They are able to offer the most beautiful prayers, because they feel Krishna in their heart. And what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? He says, my devotees, they experience great satisfaction and bliss by enlightening one another, by conversing about Krishna. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Machita mat kataprana, bodhayanta parasparam, katayantas chamam nityam tushanti charamanticha. That's the only place I can remember where Krishna specifically mentions how his devotees will be happy, will be blissful, by having association with each other, by talking about Krishna, by sharing realizations. So it's very important to remember that. If we're not happy in our Krishna consciousness, if we feel dry, if we don't have any taste, then maybe we have to ask ourselves how our relationships with our fellow devotees are. Okay. And humility is also very, very much connected to gratitude. Gratitude for what has been given to us. And trusting in Krishna. That when I come here, that when I serve, I don't depend on the temple. I don't even depend on the authorities. I depend on Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. If we have that mood, even when things don't seem to go the way we want them to go, if that is our prayer, if that is our intention, then Krishna will make all the arrangements. But if they should have done this, they are the authorities, they should have given this to me, they should have done that arrangement for me, they don't show me any care, they don't show me any love, they don't really understand me, they don't understand what I need. Yes, this is there and it needs to be addressed, but we depend on Krishna. We see Krishna in everything. Everything that happens to us, if we see it in connection to Krishna, it will actually bring us closer to Him. And it will directly involve the Lord. Because why do you think are things happening to you in the temple? It's because there's a lesson to be learned. Because otherwise we don't learn it. Like when there are calamities, when there's intensity, that's when we usually turn to the Lord, not when we get our way. Not when just everything happens the way we want it to. When we get the service that we want to have, with the devotees we want to have, with the results we want to have. And then we don't take shelter of Krishna normally. Then we think, oh yeah, I know, I'm so amazing, I'm so good, I deserve this, But when things get intense, when things don't go our way, then we usually take shelter of the Lord. And Srimad Bhagavatam is full of Gajendra, an elephant in the heavenly kingdom. It's a high position. He was like an elephant king, with all these female elephants walking around like a king. Nothing could happen to him. And then he was in the water, and what happened? He was suddenly in a situation of life and death. All his relatives, his wife, his children, everyone looking, but no one could do anything. And he's about to die. And he's trying to fight, and he's trying to fight, and he's trying to do something. But the moment he surrenders, Krishna is there and delivers him. Right. Oh yeah. What did I say?
He said he starts to fight.
Oh yeah, because the crocodile attacked. So he was trying to fight. He was trying to do whatever he could to free himself, but he couldn't. And there's so many situations. Bali Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, Vamanadev takes his first step, second step, all the land is covered. He puts his head down. Vamanadev puts his foot on his head. He surrendered. And what happened? He was arrested. Everything was taken away. The kingdom, everything was taken from him. And Bali Maharaj just accepted. Because he had this high realization. And ultimately we know Bali Maharaj got even a greater kingdom. And he was, getting more than he would ever have before. But first everything was taken. Queen Kunti is praying in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a very, very beautiful verse. That your lordship can easily be approached only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, bodily beauty, cannot approach you, and now this is very important, with sincere feeling. And this is what matters. Krishna is looking for what is in our heart. We can offer prayers. We can go out. You think this is going to impress Krishna? Or is it really Vancha Kalpatarupyas Chai? We really, like desire trees, the Vaishnavas of the Lord. When we go in front of the Lord, and offer prayers, when we're here Mangala Arti offering these prayers at Guru Puja, Gaurati, are we really praying from our heart? Are we really taking shelter, or are we just, following, everyone else is doing it? It's so easy to fall into this trap of just mechanically do things every day. Especially in the temple, there's always so much to do. There's no lack of service. Wake up, Mangala Arti, morning program, prasadam, then service, then this, then that. But how much are we consciously really meditating on the Lord and giving our heart to the Lord? Because if we don't do that, then we can chant for millions of lifetimes. We need to approach the Lord with our heart, and we cannot do that if we're not humble, and if we're not tolerant, and if we don't offer respect to others. Then we cannot give our heart to the Lord, and that's what He's looking for. The Lord can do, He could deliver the whole world in a moment if He wanted to. He could make everyone a devotee like that. So what He's the creator of unlimited universes. What can we do? What can we really do? There's not much we can do. But what is unique, what Krishna is really craving for, what is really, really looking for, is our heart. That's what He wants. But if we're closing our heart, if we're just running around mechanically, doing our things, and if we don't really sincerely try to understand, what does Krishna want? Not what I think Krishna wants from me, what does Krishna really want from me? That's how we can make a lot of progress. And that might not always be what we want. But Krishna knows what we need to progress. And we can be assured that the things that are happening to us in our daily life and in the temple happen for a reason. But when we look at it from a material perspective, then we will be very disturbed and agitated. But when we look at it from a higher spiritual perspective, then we see, an opportunity to be humble. An opportunity to be grateful. Or another opportunity for service. Oh, wow, I don't like this devotee, but he just made this very important point. So good, it's so helpful. But this only happens with the spiritual vision. Otherwise, we come here, we do some service, and then one day we leave, and then, we chant a little bit, do a little bit of service here and there, and then slowly it fades away. Or we're here for 10, 20 years and not much transformation happens. It's very unlikely with Nishingadev because he usually gets very actively involved. So usually either you surrender or you kind of have to go. But still, it's very important to consider. And there's this another beautiful prayer she offers. Tvai vinanya vishaya matya madhu pate sakret ratim utvahatat ada gange vauga mudanvati. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my devotion, my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anything else. So tomorrow when there is Gaura Purnima, there will be maybe some stress, some intensity. There's fasting. For some of us it's very easy. For some of us it's very difficult. But we keep this meditation that our bhakti and love is going to flow to the Lord, to the devotees. And that tomorrow we're really meditating on that higher principle. And then maybe we don't just do it tomorrow, but we do it the day after and the day after. But festivals like Gaura Purnima, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, are extremely important for a Vaishnava because there is special mercy available. So anything that you do on that day can give you extraordinary mercy. If you make a specific vow to chant many, many rounds, if you offer a special service, there's going to be special reciprocation because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is really, really, really present. And I want to read something to you. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says again, how we can worship him tomorrow. And this is again, I started with this in the beginning of the lecture, but it's very much connected to that. Everyone, this is from Chaitanya Bhagavat, just someone of you wants to check, Madhya Ganta chapter 19, text 207 to 215. Everyone, please give your thoughts to me. Please hear the truth. I will now say, anyone who neglects my servant and then worships me is very lowly and degraded. Such a person cuts me into pieces. His worship is like fire burning my body. So if we think, get out of the way, this is the right way to do that, I want to do it in this way, this is, what the scriptures say, and we offend the Vaishnavas. Krishna's not even interested. He's not interested. He's degraded. He cuts me into pieces. It's burning my body. So, so what is the highest principle? The highest principles are to worship the Vaishnavas of the Lord. And he goes on, my holy name, which is a kalpa vriksha tree, a desire tree, like the spiritual world, destroys anyone who once blasphemes my servant. The living entities who live in the numberless universes are all my servants. All living beings, not just those who wear tilaks. Every living being. Therefore, any living entity who harms another living entity will perish. You are more dear to me than my own body. Anyone who offends you will not be able to hear the fate that waits for him. So he's addressing another devotee. If a sannyasi blasphemes an innocent person, the sannyasi will fall down. All his piety will perish. Raising his arms, fair Lord Chaitanya declared to the entire world, renouncing criticism of others, everyone, please chant Lord Krishna's name. I will personally deliver anyone who does not criticize others and who once chants Krishna. That is the truth. That is the truth. Quite heavy, isn't it? So, see, Krishna consciousness there are things that are important, and there are things that are very important. There are principles, lower principles, and higher principles. And our advancement in our Krishna consciousness very much depends on really understanding the essential things in Krishna consciousness. If we don't have a serious japa, a very sincere japa, how can we make any advancement? If we're not really appreciating the devotees of the Lord, how can we make advancement? And if we don't experience, some intensity in our life, it's very unlikely that we will actually take shelter of the Lord. So let us tomorrow really meditate on how fortunate we are, on, despite differences and difficulties, take shelter in each other. Because when you leave your body, who do you think will be there? Who will make sure that the holy name is chanted, that someone will put tulasi around your neck and on your tongue, or some, Ganges water? Who? The devotees. And when will the devotees be there? If you cultivated strong relationships with them, then the devotees will be there for you. So what you're doing right now is you're cultivating your spiritual relationships for this life and beyond. So sometimes, we feel like, maybe no one cares, but how much have we endeavored to cultivate strong relationships with each other? And many times when we don't feel nourished in our Krishna consciousness, it's because we don't have those strong relationships with each other. Vaishnava relationships and friendships are also what will always save us. Kala Krishna Das, he went to South India with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, who was right next to him. He was serving with him. Still, he got attracted to some gypsy woman. He left Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu, he is so merciful. He came back and he dragged him on his hair back. But still, when he went back to Puri, he's rejected him. But then what happened? He didn't want him to serve him anymore. But then all the devotees of the Lord, all the associates of the Lord, they made all arrangements for Kala Krishnadas so he could give the news to Sachimata in Navadvip. So he got this very important service because the devotees were so compassionate, and so he had developed those relationships with them. So sometimes when we make an offense, when something happens, when we fall down, then it really depends on the relationships with the other Vaishnavas. How much have we cultivated them? And this is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this pastime. And we see, what is the spiritual world about? It's all about Vaishnava relationships. It's not about us. It's always about Krishna and the other devotees. A pure devotee doesn't want to spend a second to think about himself. What a waste of time. He wants to think about Krishna. He wants to give so much room for Krishna. Why does Krishna, I just forgot the name of the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Das Kaviraj. Why does say, I'm lower than a woman's stool? Because then there's so much space for Krishna, so much room to think of Krishna, and just basically nothing for himself. Therefore he's saying that. All about the devotees. How can I serve the devotees? How can I give myself to the devotees? And not so much concern about himself. Of course, as Vaishnavas, we need to take care of our health, take care of our body, and make sure we have a sadhana. But that's the spirit in Vrindavan. How can we serve each other? How can I make sure that you are comfortable, that you are taken care of? What can I do? I give my life to you. This is the mood in Vrindavan. It's very high. It's very, very high. But imagine every one of us will be in that mood and that spirit. Imagine. Then every one of us would be ecstatic all the time and feel very loved and feel very cared and feel very encouraged and very inspired. And who is going to create that mood? We have to start. We're not looking left and right and to the authorities and here and there. We take responsibility. When we notice that something is not going properly, and we start by being exemplary. We start being part of the solution. You see, it's so easy to find faults and problems. That's the easiest thing to do. It's so easy to look at a person. That is wrong. That is not going right. Anyone can do that. But to find the good, to see the good qualities, to encourage others, to inspire others, to bring others together. Very difficult sometimes. This is going wrong in the server, this is missing, and who put this there? It's not supposed. Very easy. But what's the solution? Do you also have a solution? You know? So these are the higher principles. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that no one is more dear to me who explains this knowledge to my devotees. And how do we give Krishna consciousness to other devotees? By really showing them through our example how much Krishna loves them and cares about them. You know, for a neophyte devotee, you know, it's very, very difficult. Basically we're all neophyte devotees. It's very difficult to understand that Krishna really loves us and cares about us and is there for us. But he can see it through the devotees. So let's try to be an example by really, you know, manifesting that. So the other devotees can really feel that Krishna is manifesting through us, through them. This is how we can really create very, very wonderful communities. And when any person comes in here and they see this mood, the selfless mood of service and care and love for each other, you don't need to preach to that person anymore. Why do people join? You know, they join mainly because of, you know, of the community aspect. You know, they might read Srimad Bhagavatam, they might read Bhagavad Gita, and they might understand some philosophy, but if they come here and they don't see that the philosophy is lived, they will not stay. And when these principles are followed, more and more devotees come and want to stay and want to give their life. A devotee people really surrender their life and give everything when they feel cared for. When someone doesn't feel cared for, then they will not feel like giving themselves to the Lord. They will not feel inspired to give themselves fully to the community. So therefore, people have to come always first. We have to think about each other. What does this person need? Not what I think the person needs, because that's what we always like to do as devotees. Srila Prabhupada said in 1973, and in Bhagavad Gita it said, and Srimad Bhagavatam. But do we stop sometimes to actually listen and understand the situation of a person, what they are going through, what's happening to them? And then we can still give our katha. Yes, if we give Krishna consciousness and principles of Srimad Bhagavatam, it's the right thing to do. But if we spend some time understanding a person, then it's even more powerful. Because then this person, this person understands me, cares about me. Okay? So I believe that this is what Mahaprabhu wanted from us. Because this is what we see in Caitanya, Caritamrita, all these loving exchanges between the devotees, and then going out and sharing it with the world through the holy name. So let's just try to be that for each other. I'm not saying it's easy. I think it's very, very important. Okay, so if any one of you has any questions, comments, feedback, reflections, you can say so. Haribo. And see, it's not like, just want to say that it's not that we now, kill ourselves to follow these principles. It's just that to understand what's the mood in Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. And then we do whatever we can. We will not immediately be pure devotees overnight. We have to also take care of ourselves first. We cannot take care of others if we don't take care of our sadhana and ourselves. But it's more like an inspiration, not that, oh my God, I can't follow this, I'm not worthy of being here, oh no. It's more like we're doing our best. So just to say that. Yeah, you had you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your amazing class. You mentioned really it's not flattering, it comes from my heart. The most high principles in such a practical and applicable way. It's amazing. You got all the points. And I love the honesty. I like the honesty of Dean, Dr. Dean, very much. The points with our shortcomings, but that's the same. At the same time, that's showing really to your sincerity. So it will come good. Then I have one point. That is, yes. I like the point you made about when the calamities come. This is Queen Kunti's verse. Let the calamities come again and again. And that's what we're facing all the times in a community. Though I don't live, I live outside, but I often go
Right, yeah.
on purpose to ashrams to experience these calamities. I like the point you make. Like we have to look to it from a spiritual point of view. When in the beginning I was like, whoa, devotees. I thought they're honest, they're sincere, they're this, And at a certain moment I realized that those I had a conflict with were my best teachers, because these conflicts arise because there's something you have to learn from them. And then I noticed, though I wasn't tolerant or was too much taught the best lessons. And this one question I want to ask, because this is a point I'm a little bit struggling on, and that is, so in the Bhagavad Gita it is stated that devotees may not disturb another devotee, and Krishna is not pleased. Okay? And on the other hand, those who disturb you are the ones who take your lessons. So, are the devotees fault? Are they doing wrong by disturbing you? Because Krishna is not pleased. You understand what I mean? Krishna is not pleased if you disturb another devotee. But at the same time, that disturbance gives lessons to learn. So for me, it's like, if you don't get disturbed, you will not learn anything.
Right. So, right. So what? Right, calamities. Queen Kunti is praying for it. Let the calamities come again and again. So I will always take shelter and remember you, because then I don't have to take birth again. So, however, what we have to, when we look at Bhagavad, let's look at Queen Kunti. They had all beautiful and amazing relationships with each other, right?
Yes.
But still calamities happen. So usually we don't have to worry about the calamities to happen, They come. And the point is also like, she can pray like that so sincerely because she's constantly feeling Krishna in her heart. So because, okay, maybe the body and the mind goes through a lot of turbulences and this, but when we feel Krishna in our heart, then, it's not going to matter. Therefore, these exalted souls, sometimes we hear stories of Prabhupada, what he went through. Heart attacks, someone running with a knife after him, like basically his first lecture, 1 or 2 people come and he's ecstatic about it, So because he's constantly feeling Krishna in his heart. So, yeah, there will be for sure limits, but Krishna knows what we can take, isn't it? So, and I personally, like, how I understand it, I'm always very careful. I'm trying to be. I'm not always. I've also. This is not like I'm exemplary that I'm living all of these things. I'm trying. It's very difficult. I usually really sincerely try to not disturb a Vaishnava, because I know if that Vaishnava gets disturbed, I don't know who this person is. He might be Bhakta Joe who joined last week, but I don't know who he is. There's the story about a Indra Prabhu, who got a call. His father would pass away. And for those of you who don't know, Indra Prabhu is a very exalted Vaishnava who was constantly chanting in Vrindavan the holy name. So, very elevated devotee. And then he was like, yeah, what do I care? I'm chanting the holy name. That's all I have to do. He'll be delivered. It's true, 7 generations, when you get delivered, will also be delivered. So he was like, I'm in Vrindavan, I'm going to stay here, I don't care, he's not my father, Krishna is my father. So, but then he had a dream in the night that his father was in his previous life a sannyas of Bhaktisiddhanta, a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a sannyas who fell down. In this life he was just like a kami, eating meat, drinking, but very exalted. So my point is and then of course the intra-arranged that he got tulasi and Yamuna water and stuff like that. So the point is we don't know who the other person is. I might look at Tejas right now, but I don't. Who's Tejas? I don't know. Maybe in his last life he was a spiritual master with 10,000 disciples, and he took one more birth because of a little thing. I'm just saying. I don't know. We don't know who even a random person on the street is. We really don't know. And it might be our first life being a Vaishnava. So therefore, it's always important to be careful, because we don't know who the other person is. And also, when because if we offend a devotee, especially an advanced devotee, and they really hurt, then our taste will disappear. I spoke once to a very elevated Vaishnava, and he told me, he was chanting, I don't know how many, more than 2 lakhs, which is basically 128 rounds every day. He was just doing his bhajan. And he told me one day he got angry and he offended a devotee. And he lost all his taste, and he couldn't chant 128 rounds anymore. He had to start with 32 rounds. Seems for us a lot, but for someone who's for many years chanting so many levels, he had to start basically from scratch again and build him slowly, after many years, build his taste up again. So therefore, this is emphasized so much. And I'm sure I'll be tested now after speaking this this week. But
In Indian culture, we have this guests. We have to treat the guests like kings.
oh yeah,
If they come home, it's because we don't know who the person was in the previous life. It could be God Himself.
right,
We have this
yeah,
culture. I don't know if they live it still now, but I know my parents. When guests came, they
yeah,
were always treated like kings.
exactly. Even in Islam, you have that, that when a person comes, you have to really treat them, and they can stay for 3 days without you saying anything. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would like to add one part on being in the association and then you're going through difficulties in
Mm-hmm.
relationships. And I mean, how much have I realized that from the perspective of ultimately what we should experience and what we should cultivate is there's no question of taking offenses. And like you speak about Krishna in the heart, but there's also Krishna Bahinda Singora Daina Singosori. Also the person coming to you and giving you disturbance is Krishna.
Right, yeah.
Krishna is doing it. So it's very dangerous to think that this person is this, because that's very immature actually. So I mean that's for my own purification. And as you mentioned,
Right,
as much as we are lacking this vision and freedom from tension,
right,
that much we have to respect from a distance.
exactly.
And it's dangerous to be too close.
Yeah, because for our own sake, and also, but there's one point, yes, Krishna, Prabhupada was in Calcutta, and I believe in Calcutta, and the bombs, it was bombed, and he was saying, I saw Krishna, he was ecstatic because he saw Krishna in these bombs coming down, so that's a very high vision. However, again, that doesn't mean we tolerate abuse, okay? So there is a line somewhere, So abuse doesn't mean that someone says, get out of my way, necessarily. But there is a line, So for example, if we notice, this was strange, feel really hurt, I feel really disturbed, I feel this person was is constantly doing these things to me, then we go to the respective authority and address it. So it's not like this person comes and beats us up and we're like, yes, if you are on that stage, you take it as Krishna, but then you still, for the sake of the community and the other Vaishnavas, you go to the respective authorities. Because sometimes this understanding has been abused in our movement to justify things that have nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. So it was not your question, but I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that because it's very important. That, still, the mood of a devotee is ultimately like, let anything happen to me, but as soon as we see our brothers or sisters being in any kind of situation, then we step up. You see, so this is also there. So for ourselves, we may tolerate many things, not abuse, but many things. But when we see another devotee is criticized or mistreated, then we want to help and support and address it. If we're not an authority, not ourselves, but we go to the respective authority and address it. This is also important. So, yeah. So, it's 9 o'clock now, so I think we end here now. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Tagore Premanandi. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Now the blade of grass moves without the sanction of the God.
Yeah.
That is what I was thinking about all the time.
Right.
If you make this point at the end, it's very important that you have to come up for abuse against others.
Right, yeah. Sanjay? Weil, das weiß ich, ist das ihm?